Hello and welcome to State View. I'm Mark Crosby. Thank you so much for joining me and my guest for a look at how Beacon Hill and actions taken on Beacon Hill affect you and your community in the state of Massachusetts. To help kind of guide us through that and talk about legislation, I have the state representative from the 1st Norfolk District. That would be Representative Bruce Ayers. Bruce, welcome back.
Hi, Mark. Nice to be here with you again. I appreciate the opportunity to talk about some of the things that are going on Beacon Hill.
Whatever legislation is filed, no matter what district you represent, really can affect anyone living in the Commonwealth.
That's true, because, as a state legislator, the bills that we vote on, of course, affect the whole Commonwealth, and they affect our district. Whether it's related to transportation, education, a number of different areas, allocating funds to certain areas. So it really does. What we're voting on for legislators from Quincy, it still affects people throughout the whole Commonwealth.
We should also mention that your district, the 1st Norfolk District, includes Quincy and Randolph.
That's right. Quincy and Randolph, I go through the Blue Hills, how it connects through the legislative process. But it's a great district, I'm fortunate. Talking
about the state budget and the stages that goes through. So we are talking naturally about the FY27 budget.
Yes, that's right. The governor recently released her budget, $62 billion budget that we're reviewing. But as you know, Mark, the House will do their version of the budget, which we're going to be taking up in April. And then the Senate will do their version of the budget probably in May. But, Massachusetts is very competitive throughout the country, and we want to build upon that, through our budget process, whether it's healthcare, education, transportation, a lot of those initiatives to make sure that we stay competitive. Locally in our districts, as legislators, one of our most important roles is to make sure that we advocate for as much funding as we can for our districts. And to give you an example, dealing with state agencies, gathering money for state police, our parks, the Department of Conservation and Recreation, Mass DOT projects that might be in our area. We also work closely with the mayor and the council. We want to make sure that we can get as much local aid as we can for the cities and towns to allocate accordingly, their plans that they're working on with the city council, school committee initiatives that they're doing. And then we have Chapter 70 funds that are there for education, Chapter 90 funds that are there for transportation, bridges, and road work. And then another big fund that we are always pushing is the Mass School Building Authority, rebuilding our schools, like the Squantum School that's ongoing now, rehabbing our schools, making sure that they have the proper maintenance required, roofs, windows, boilers, new technology. So there's a lot of initiatives that we're going to be working on with the budget.
Certainly things that folks are always aware of, and those are, as you had mentioned, bridges, roads. That's infrastructure.
Yes, that's right. That's very important. A lot of times people don't see that, but we have to make sure that our infrastructure, sewer, water, drain, our electrical wires are up to par, because it can cause an awful lot of problems that we see through cities and towns throughout the state, and certainly in Quincy, from time to time, that it cause electrical problems and shutdowns.
There's a push rather to expand the coverage area of the MWRA, for example.
Yes, I know a lot of cities and towns outside the region would like to be included in that. And another area of the state budget too is, to support our social services, which play an important role in the city of Quincy for our most vulnerable in some situations, like NeighborWorks, Dove, Quarry, QCAP. All that perform very important services to the residents of the city of Quincy. So these are a lot of things that we'll be lobbying for, debating for in the next several weeks as we go through our version of the budget.
Well, we're getting close to the season, so state police patrols, and I guess we'll speak specifically about Wollaston Beach.
Sure. Well, it's another important component. With the summer months upon us, like you say, it generates a lot more interest in population to Wollaston Beach, to Quincy Shore Drive. And what we want to make sure is that we have the proper state police coverage. Currently, there is one state police patrol car that covers South Boston, Dorchester, Quincy, and 10 miles of I-93. Now, during the summer months, to add extra protection, the delegation works together to get a designated state police patrol for Wollaston Beach, Quincy Shore Drive, and Furnace Brook Parkway. And the reason is we want to make sure that we have the proper protection for the crowds, the summer crowds, working with the residents off of Wollaston Beach, the businesses down in that area. We want to make sure that their public safety and their privacy is taken in fact. So some of the steps that we've taken with that, recently I met with Captain Dyott of the Massachusetts State Police to go over some of their summer plans to prevent any disturbances. And some of the initiatives they're going to be doing with the designated patrol is mixing it up with marked cars, unmarked cars, motorcycles, bicycles, and they're going to set a strong precedent. So there'll be zero tolerance. And what they're looking for is speeding, loud music, drinking, littering, loitering, undesirable behavior. So it's important that we secure that funding for that additional patrol to reinsure the residents of that.
Is there a curfew for that road?
I know they've put curfews in place from time to time, but what we want to do is hopefully avoid anything like that. The state police share jurisdiction with the Quincy police down there, so between the two, we've been pretty fortunate to have great police patrols in the area. But again, Wollaston Beach is a great place to take advantage of. We want to make sure that the beachgoers, it's a great family safe beach during the summertime. We put a lot of money in over the years to invest in that property. We want to make sure it's clean and safe, and we certainly encourage any people, if they have any problems down in that area, to contact our office to make sure that we can address it.
Well, let's talk about that, the summer maintenance schedule.
With that, Mark, too, to take a proactive step with the summer programs in our state parks, and we've got a lot of them. The Department of Conservation, Course and Recreation oversee our state parks. And those state parks are big parcels of land. For instance, we have Marina Bay, Squantum Point Park there. We have the Hummocks, we have Wollaston Beach, we have Shea Rink, of course, Caddy Park. But recently we met with our legislative liaison, Dan Lynch, to discuss the summer maintenance program. And what we like to do, and we've done, is have the officials come to the district to do a site visit. And the purpose of the site visit is to get a better understanding of the size and the scope of each area, because they're all different. And they all require different equipment and different manpower. And another thing we want to check to make sure there's no jurisdiction problems. So before the summer months get underway, there's a plan in place. And if there's things that we need to do legislatively to support that, we can do that. So we've had those meetings, and we're looking to get a good start this summer to make sure that those properties are well maintained.
And I know over the years there's been kind of combing or grooming of the sand.
Yes.
There as well.
That's right. There's certain schedules of grooming on the beach, and I know the last couple of years too, we were encouraging people, if they're interested in maybe a summer job for lifeguards or other positions, to please either call our office or look on the websites. There's career opportunities there too for people who might be interested.
It's a great summer job.
It's a great summer job.
My son was a lifeguard for a number of years. Let's talk about the Marina Bay Ferry and the expansion, or I would call it an expansion of the existing schedule.
Sure. And thank you, Mark. This is going on our 10th year. And we just heard that the schedule came out today that the Marina Bay Ferry is going to start their service April 27th for this season. So we're excited about that. And each year we've tried to build on the ferry service, learning from the successes from the year before and things that we need to improve on. But this year we're really excited. There's some new things that are happening. We have a fourth boat. So what that means is with the current fleet we have now, with the 3 boats, a fourth boat will be put in place. So if one of the boats is down, maybe for a maintenance problem, a fourth boat can jump in to ensure service. And the fourth boat will also be used for increased service and other routes. Quincy now has a designated route that goes directly to downtown Boston. Before, we used to share that with Winthrop. For some of the viewers who may not be familiar with the Marina Bay Ferry, we certainly want to encourage them to try it out. From leaving Marina Bay, you've got 2 stops, downtown Boston, the seaport and the aquarium. You can stop at Logan Airport. You can also go to Winthrop if you wish, but it's a 20-minute ride on the ferry. The cost one way is $6.50. You can park for free at Squantum Point Park, and there's plenty of parking. There's over 800 spots out there. So it's a really great opportunity. It's something we're really excited about to build upon because it has so much potential. You know, it not only helps us with our transportation, it helps us with our tourism. You know, Senator Keenan and I were successful in last year's budget to secure the necessary funding to get a year-round ferry. Now, the funding is there, and we're working on a lot of the logistics to make it a year-round funding. So that's our end goal. So we're constantly trying to come up with the necessary money and resources. And just this past summer, we worked closely with the MBTA water transportation study. And what that was, Mark, was we reached out. There was an awful lot of Outlook working with the MBTA and the water transportation people to gather input. And with some of that input in the open houses we received, we've come up with potential ideas and ways to improve and build upon the ferry service. One of the ideas was considering a stop perhaps to UMass for the students. Another was to expand on maybe weekend service. Another idea was to maybe have extended 211 bus service from North Quincy Squantum and have a stop at the Marina Bay location. But these logistics in the most conducive route perhaps would have to be worked out. But you know, the goal is to offer residents, being a seacoast community, another way to get downtown Boston. And what it does also is it takes congestion off the Neponset Bridge, and it takes congestion off the MBTA. So
and
we're
it
really
takes the aggravation off the drivers.
It does. So, you know, we really want to encourage the people to try it if they haven't. It's a great experience. You know, like I said, the people of Marina, Squantum, North Quincy, a lot of people use it, and each year the ridership is building. So we're excited about this season.
Early onset Alzheimer's legislation.
This is a bill that you and I have talked about on past shows. You know, we work an awful lot on various bills that deal with Alzheimer's, and I think, you know, everybody knows someone who may have suffered from Alzheimer's, whether it's a family or friend. You know, I have a personal experience with my mom who suffered from it for 10 years before she passed. But the early onset Alzheimer's bill originated from a Quincy constituent who contacted our office. He did not qualify for the Frail Elder Program. And what that is that would offer services for his wife who suffered from Alzheimer's to be delivered in-home at her house through Mass Health because of the age requirement. So the age requirement was 60 years old, and she was in her 50s. So they didn't have that resource of funding or level of care. And what ended up happening is he was a firefighter. He ended up using up his sick time. He quit his job to take care of her. He was forced to retire. They even sold their house and downsized to accommodate what was going on, to address her needs. As you can imagine, it was devastating to them financially and emotionally. So we worked together with that family to draft a bill that would simply remove the age provision of 60 years old that would allow people to take advantage of the Frail Elder Wed program. Now, this legislative session, the way it began, there wasn't a statute change, but working with the Mass Alzheimer's Association and the administration, there was a regulatory change that now included that through their PACE program. So what that means is people now who are in their 50s through the state's healthcare plan and the PACE plan and other plans that they're involved with, and I think we're going to show some of that information on the screen so people interested, they can get more details. What that means is people can stay at home and get that level of care they may have had in a nursing facility in their own home. And that's what we want to see. We want to see people at home in the right environment with their family, in a loving, nurturing environment. So these are changes, I think, that are important to people when they're faced with maybe someone who's suffering from an Alzheimer's disease. It can be tough, so we want to do everything we can to make it a little bit easier for people to care for their family.
Well, it's a stressful time for both the patient and the caregiver.
It can be, so anything to make it easier. And I think the key here is we want to keep people at home to live an independent lifestyle in their own environment. And that bill addresses this. So we're going to continue to advocate on a lot of these bills on Beacon Hill.
Animal cruelty and shelter legislation.
This is a bill that is in bills in third reading. And what that means is it's a bill that was vetted. It's gone through the committee process and been voted out favorably and now subject to be going before the floor of the House for a vote. But what this bill does, Mark, is two things. It raises fines and penalties against animal cruelty, and it also generates money for our animal shelters throughout the state. And how that works
It makes sense that the money would go there.
Yes, and how it works is the bill was drafted or designed to be a funding mechanism on the back of people who commit animal cruelty.
I just heard a story today, just before I got in the car to come here. A person was walking her dog, and someone came by and kicked the dog and took off. The dog took off too, but they were able to arrest the individual who did the act.
Wow. Well, you hear these situations and you wonder, how an individual could do that. And if this bill becomes law, how this would play out is the fine would be doubled. The additional money would go into an account to be earmarked for animal shelters. Now, animal shelters, whether they were rebuilding a new one, rehabbing them, or helping them with their operations, with their adoption programs. There's 450 animal shelters throughout Massachusetts, and they do an awful lot with very little. They rely on volunteers. Some of the adoptions and programs they do run are fantastic. But they need help. And what better way is to put it on the backs of the people who, may be in a situation where they're in a cruelty situation where that money can be well used. We're fortunate in the city of Quincy. We have the nicest animal shelter in the state, and they do a fantastic job up there. I'm always impressed with all their volunteers. But when you look at the other 351 cities and towns, they don't have that type of luxury. So again, this is just a way to help them financially, give them some additional resources to run the programs, the adoption programs, and all the work that they do.
Handicap fine and ADA compliance.
It's a similar bill too, Mark. This is another bill that we have that's in bills in third reading. Again, it's been vetted through the House. It's gone through the process, and the mechanism is similar. What we're finding out now is working with cities and towns throughout the state, there's a lot of cities and towns that aren't ADA compliant. Towns and cities that need proper wheelchair lifts, ramps, curb cuts, hindering our seniors, our veterans from getting in public places, schools, other areas. So what this bill would do, again, it would be a fine increase on people who park in handicap spots, and we all see it. You know, we all see people who in a rush, they'll park in the spot, taking it away from someone who really needs it. So the money would be generated not by raising taxes, by the individual who got caught, who'll be fined. That money from the violation would go back to the city or town where the incident occurred, to a fund, and that fund would be solely used to make the city or town more handicap accessible. I found that, you know, working with disability advocates and others, they already have plans to make their city or town ADA compliant, but where this was an unfunded mandate when it was originally passed by the federal government, there's not a lot of money for the resources to do it. So this is just one way to generate some funding to start making those cities and towns more handicap accessible.
Let's look now at some bills that have passed the House, and that's the apprenticeship bill. We'll start with that one, and then we'll talk about the youth sporting event AED bill.
Sure. The apprenticeship bill was something that recently passed the House. It's a great bill. It helps our apprenticeship program throughout the state. How this would work is contractors, subcontractors, people who are going to bid on jobs over $10 million would be subject to hiring an apprenticeship program. There's a number of programs out there, but this creates opportunities for people in apprenticeship programs to get first-hand training and experience. And that's what we want. We want to better prepare the people in the trades, and we want to give them an opportunity to work with these contractors on these jobs to create more career opportunities in the long run. So it's just another way to kind of, I think, help grow our economy and job population.
Teaching at the same time. The workforce has to be, the young workforce has to be educated. How better be educated than to be on the job doing it?
That's right. The proof's in the pudding. You know, where before the contractors weren't required to, this now will require them to do in certain jobs, and I think it's just a great opportunity and experience for these apprenticeships.
So let's talk about, I suppose the difference with this next piece, the AED bill, has to do with, I guess, outside venues, outside of the school events.
Yes. Now, of course, there's already a law in place that would require defibrillators in the schools. What this bill would do is would require defibrillators at athletic facilities. Being a football or soccer field, a baseball or basketball court, along with someone trained to use the defibrillator. You know, unfortunately, we hear from time to time where there might be a high school athlete who might need some help. And what we're trying to do here is make sure that we have the right tools and the proper people trained to assist them. God forbid there's an emergency. So this bill, I think, is a great bill. It'll serve a lot of unexpected areas where we can improve on, you know.
Absolutely, because as we all know, at various outdoor venues, parks, recreational spaces, people often are exerting themselves, and those devices should be readily available.
That's right. There'll be signage, like I said, someone who's trained to use them, and they'll be readily available. So it's a great safety spot.
I'm going to kind of lean back in my chair. Actually, I think I'm going to leave the set for a second, because I'm going to bring a pair of crutches in so we can talk about our next piece, and that is the Helping Hand program. So
Thank you.
Crutches, and I do have,
Look at that.
a walker.
All right, well, we'll put this right in our inventory and find a good home for it.
So talk about the Helping Hand program.
Well, thanks, Mark. You know, and we talk about this quite a bit, but I appreciate it because, you know, there's a lot of people that know about the program, and there's a lot that don't know about the program. And for the ones that don't know, the Helping Hand program collects durable medical equipment, and thank you. We put it in our inventory, store it, and give it to those in need free. Items we typically get are wheelchairs, walkers, crutches, canes, hospital beds from people who no longer need this type of equipment. we store it, and like I said, we give it to people free. And we see a lot of seniors, veterans, and people in need of this type of equipment, but might not have the right resources or insurance to cover it. And these can be expensive items for someone who's living on a fixed income. In the city of Quincy, we see a large population of seniors. Some of the biggest concerns is healthcare costs. And when it comes to living on a fixed income, a lot of times, they might not have the ability to afford things like this to help them remain independent. We just had a woman who was discharged from a nursing home, and they were not going to let her go home. They were going to have her go to an assisted living facility. But what she did is we were able to give her equipment, so she remodeled her downstairs dining room with a hospital bed, a commode, and a tub bench. So she was then able to go home where she wanted to go and complete her rehab there. She made a full recovery, and it's all because of people who were generous enough to donate this type of equipment to the program. So it's people helping people, and we certainly encourage people. I think they might be putting up something on the screen. If they want to find out more about the program, if they need equipment, or they might want to donate equipment, please give us a call.
Very good. And we will end the program with office hours.
Office hours, there's an awful lot going on in Beacon Hill, and again, thank you for the opportunity to talk about some of it. But some of the people maybe watching it might want to weigh in on some of the topics, or even some of the other legislative matters going on during the budget process. If you'd like to meet with me, we hold office hours every Friday from 9:30 to 11. Call the office. We'll be happy to set up a time.
Very good. I think 2 minutes. I want to use these 2 minutes up. I'm going to back up and just briefly talk about the senior circuit breaker tax credit.
Sure. Another great program, and I know, thank you for allowing the delegation to talk about this recently on one of the shows. Tax season is upon us. We want to encourage seniors to get in contact with us to talk a little bit about if you're eligible for the senior circuit breaker. I think last year there was over 1,700 seniors that took advantage of it, and I think the average return was probably $1,500 for people who did. They can also go back 2 or 3 years to see, if they're eligible then too. And there's also help out there too. We wanted to let people know, if they're unfamiliar with the program, there is free help out there through some of the resources of AARP. And some of the community centers offer programs too. So it's a great way to get some money back to our senior citizens, to help them continue to stay active and live an independent lifestyle.
Very good. And on that note, I guess we will conclude this episode.
Great.
Thank you so much, Bruce. And welcome you back in short order.
Great. Thanks, Mark. I appreciate your friendship and support.
Absolutely. And yours as well. And thank you at home for watching, and please remember to support the local access station in the community in which you reside. Take care.